Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name is Chad. This week, yes, I am unshaven. Yes, my hair is uncombed. I am wearing a camo hat, and of course, I'm wearing my Trainin' Insane tank top because I'm about to leave to go to the gym. The week's been busy because it's the week before I go back to Japan. I'm doing a lot of packing, a lot of like hanging with people, a lot of preparation, because I got a lot of work to do. But you guys don't care about that. You don't actually care about me. You guys want free content and then want to complain about free content. So that's what I'm gonna give you guys, something to complain about. This week, over here, Tobira, the actual, like, the legit book. Wow, here it is. What do you know? This week is just a quick review on this. I think a quick review is warranted because if you've seen one intermediate textbook, which I've seen quite a bit more than that, you've pretty much seen them all. They cover the same stuff. So without trying to be redundant and trying to not waste your guys' time, I have made as clear and concise of a compare and contrast video between this and the other popular book, An Integrated Approach to Intermediate Japanese, which I have a link for, I'm sure everywhere, somewhere, eventually. I have a lot of textbook reviews. You guys can find it somewhere on my channel. Alrighty, don't need to waste your time anymore. Good enough intro. Good job, Chad. Good job. All right, I'll see you guys at the Coffee Nook. Hey, we're back at the Coffee Nook. Finally got my hands on the Tobita main textbook. And I think that about 90% of the notes that I took on this, honestly, are super redundant. Like, honestly, when I was taking notes on the contents of this book, it was all like, you know, the number of vocabulary or how dense everything ended up being. And it really is about the same as, like, every other intermediate textbook. All this level of intermediate textbook that I found more or less cover the same stuff. But there are a couple things in particular that I'd like to point out. I don't personally feel like you would go wrong either way using either of these books. But I think they each have some strong points, some weak points. I'm only going to use the integrated approach as kind of a, maybe a touchstone, because I've already reviewed this. And if you guys would like, you can check out one of my dozens of textbook reviews, this being one of them, if you want a more in-depth look into it. But I figure, because these tend to be the two most popular intermediate textbooks after you get out of the Genki series, using one as kind of a touchstone to interpret the other tends to be, I don't even know what you call it, preferable, I'd say. So, in the Tobita textbook, the very first thing that I realized is I loved the format of this. Like here, I'm just gonna flip through this real quick so you can kind of see the variation of the text, of the stuff you're using to like practice the Japanese is a lot more varied in this than in most textbooks that you'll find. You'll either find one of two threads. You'll find it's either kind of in JLPT format because it's more of a JLPT prep book, or you'll find they're all kind of in the same weird, like, I don't even know what you call it. It's like a textbook format. It looks like it's for a textbook. Not that this doesn't have sections that don't look like textbooks, but it's just a lot more varied in the format. For some comparison, I'll show you guys a little bit of what this looks like. It is, sorry, here it is, into the textbook. It is all very the same. Everything looks the same, all the fonts are kind of the same, you know, all the work that you do ends up looking quite the same. It's not a bad thing, and honestly, if you don't care about formatting or styles, it's not something you'll probably notice. But I just like how Tobita really mixes up a lot of the stuff that's in the textbook. Now, I've read through about half of the examples in this book, for reading at least, and I gotta say, the jump from like a Genki 1 to a lot of the reading in here, it feels like a jump. Like, it's not much of a jump, like I'm sure you guys will be able to see. This isn't particularly a difficult passage to read.
How are you? Fine, thank you!
At least I don't think so, especially since it gives you furigana for, you know, a couple of the kanjis you might not be as familiar with. But it's not particularly hard. In fact, that's one of the things I heard about this book, was that, oh, it's so much more harder because they take native materials. Like, these are all clips from, like, Japanese textbooks for Japanese people or whatever. And I've only read about half of the actual reading material in this book, but for anyone who has read a lot of Japanese, I'm sure you could actually see this now, this isn't very hard at all. In fact, it is all very standard textbooky Japanese. You're not getting slang with this hardly at all, even in the bits that do like conversational Japanese. Like this, even the informal way that this talks is very textbook, which is fine. I mean, this is a textbook. I'm not expecting them to teach you like hood rat Japanese in something that is meant to get everyone roughly to a level of understanding. I'm not mad at this. I was just expecting more. Everyone was like, yeah, it's so much about what the real language is. And I read it and I'm like, it literally feels like they took something that maybe this was at some point meant for a native Japanese person, and they just kind of simplified the language a bit. I don't know, maybe the website is where all the native materials is, that's completely possible, but this to me just feels like textbook Japanese. And again, not a bad thing if you guys read history books in Japan or you're reading, you know, actual nice professional articles about stuff. This is the type of Japanese they use. But this is not the Japanese you're gonna read in a One Piece manga. This is not the type of Japanese that I use when I'm at my tattoo shop in Minami Fukuoka. This is very run-of-the-mill Tokyo-Ben written stuff, and that's totally fine. Like, it's not a negative I wouldn't imagine. Maybe it is for me because I'm a putz, but I'm sure for, yeah, see, like, they even have, like, comic strips. Sorry, I got sidetracked because I saw this, but, this is not something you will find in a lot of Japanese textbooks. So I like that they add this type of variance to it. So another thing that I would like to show you guys in terms of how this differs from other textbooks, and I don't think it differs a lot to where a lot of people will notice it. Let me zoom in real quick. So you guys will see in this page, you have basically the grammar point. So you get, you know, your I guess, explanation, right? Kind of like a not really definition, more of an explanation of what the thing kind of means. This is how it is usually translated, how to form it, and it gives you like 5 or 6 examples. Sometimes it's as small as 3, usually 4. Let's see if there's any more in here. 5 and 3. There's 6 here at the bottom that you guys can't see. So it gives you a fair amount. Now, to kind of compare this, I'm going to move this to the side and bring in the intermediate Japanese book. Let's go to, let's see, I think 133 has. Here is how it's formatted in the integrated approach. So you get the same type of thing. You get the big point on top, kind of a translation of it, and a couple of examples. It gives anywhere from 2 to usually 4 examples. Yeah, all the way to 4. This one, though, does give you English with it, whereas this book, the example sentences don't give you that, which can be nice if you're doing immersion or maybe you're a little bit farther along in Japanese to where you should be able to read this anyways, and the only thing you might not know is the grammar point. But if you're out of Genki, you're probably not going to be reading this and getting it exactly right, in my opinion. So this is kind of, I'm trying to show you guys that there really is that, the mythic, they say there's like a gap, right? Like going from Genki 2 to Tobita, it feels like there's a reading gap. And I would agree. I think it just doesn't baby you as much as a lot of these other textbooks do. I think really the reading level is something you should be able to do, especially like chapter 1 and stuff. You should be able to read this at the end of Genki 2, given you've learned whatever there is to learn in the chapter of this book. It's just hard, because it's not just double lining it with English, like maybe the Genki books do, or the integrated approach does. And that's actually one of the reasons why a lot of people go with the integrated approach, because it's done by the Japan Times, who makes the Genki book. So it really does feel like a Genki 3. It's done in very similar format, whereas Tobita is made from Kuroshio Publishers, which I've never actually heard of them. But it's a different publisher, so they're not trying to be a Genki 3, they're trying to be their own thing. So the feeling is different, and they're not giving you English probably where you're used to getting English in the Genki books or in an integrated approach. So I think it's less a gap and more getting used to, but it is something that you will feel jumping into this book. So the one thing I would recommend, if you are thinking about going from a Genki 1 or 2, or really any beginner book entering into intermediate Japanese and you want to go into what this is, I would recommend some type of bridge course. So I personally did a bridge course prior to doing an integrated approach. This is the one I use. This is Chukyu e Iko. And really all it is, there's no English in here, so it's going to prep you a lot more for more intermediate textbooks where English isn't really an option. And it really all it is just a lot of reading. It just gives you a lot of short reading, a couple of bits of grammar with maybe one piece of English for the grammar, and then just a lot of reading, a lot of practicing with the language. Not a super dense book, but it is a bridge course. That's what this is made for. And I would figure the more you can wean yourself off English and trust that you're standing on solid ground, trust you're standing on a good foundation to understand stuff, I figure something of a bridge course, be it this book or not, would help you going into this, but it's not necessary. I think people are more capable than they give themselves in Japanese getting out of Genki 2. Not that you're gonna be translating, dictionaries or something, but, you could read a lot of stuff, and the stuff you don't, or you're not able to read, a lot of the time you're able to tell, oh, is this a grammar point I'm not understanding? Is this a word I don't know? You can kind of tell. And so I think this book assumes that you have the confidence to do that getting out. Another thing with this book that kind of frustrated me, I've read freaking all over the internet and reviews of this that people are saying that this is an N2 textbook. It is not an N2 textbook. So to give you guys a little bit of some context, right? So the N2, a lot of the time people say is about 6,000 words. I know over 10,000 and I failed last year by 10 points. So it's not necessary or vocab. It has to do with how it all comes together. So just the information of this book assumes that, you guys remember my kanji review. The book assumes that you already know like 300 something kanji, and then the kanji book teaches you 500 to get you a total of 800. Well, the N2 is 1,000, so you're already 200 short, and frankly, you need more than that. So inherently, you're short on kanji. If you do, let's say the Genki route, so you do both Genki books, there's about 1,700 vocab words between the two books, which is a lot. This book only adds about 1,500, and you can go, Chad, how do you know it adds about 1,500? Mother trucker, I counted this. That's a total of 3,200. That's about half of the words they say you need to know. So just on the contents alone, if you know 3,000, that's very solidly N3 in my opinion. 800 kanji, that's pretty N3 if you ask me. The grammar that this brings up, occasionally you'll find in like an N2 textbook or something that's meant for that. This, though, is very solidly like the end of N4, the beginning of N3. The Tobira series, oh, that's a freaking American R right there. The Tobira series is solidly N3. And that's a cool thing, because finding a really solid N3 book that isn't like kind of N3 or maybe like the upper part of N3 and then some N2 is a little uncommon. Like even an integrated approach is pretty N3, but it's missing in a few areas. Tobita's a more complete N3, and it's a lot more dense with knowledge. There's just more per page, there's more stuff you go over. I think inherently, especially since they're about the same price point, I think integrated approach is 32, right? Yeah, 3,200 yen, so about 32 bucks. This one's only 30, you can't see it because the sticker's about 33, so about $33. I think both are completely fine to have. The audio to me, both these come with audio, means nothing to me, honestly. Like, I don't even own a CD player, I don't think. So it's cool if you have it, it's cool if you don't. Again, the benefit of the Tobita series is that you do have a website that has like the audio of native speakers and has video. I haven't tested that out yet. I would say this is pretty good. The fact that you have to pay an extra $20 for more kanji kind of makes me mad. Like, you have to get the kanji book on the outside because this doesn't teach you the kanji, which is kind of frustrating. Makes it basically like you have to buy 2 textbooks. Luckily, the grammar's covered in here. The other Tobita grammar book is more or less just extra practice if you want it. So it's not necessary, in my opinion. So yeah, I mean, I obviously did this one. I think they're about the same level. I think it's a lot of format. I think this one's gonna be an easier jump from Genki. Like, you could do this one right out of Genki 2 and be fine. This one is harder. There's less English. I almost said English. There's less English, but in general, it has more to it, and this will take you, I think, honestly, both of these will take you to the post-textbook era. Like, the point where you get to where you could take a native book off a shelf and you could have a grammar dictionary, a really good intermediate grammar dictionary, as well as just a normal vocabulary dictionary, or maybe a book that's strictly for vocab, like maybe some of the Tongo books I recommended. And with the help of both of those, still inputting new words and still learning grammar from either the dictionary or from some SRS app, you should be able to use native materials from here on out. I really believe that when it comes to learning Japanese, around this level, this intermediate level, is about the last time you probably would benefit greatly from buying textbooks. Now, don't get me wrong, I have advanced textbooks. I think I own several. I just didn't use them very much. They more or less were shelf sitters or supplementary materials that were kind of targeted for my level, which is all fine. But I much prefer using native materials with just reference stuff on the outside of it, dictionaries and the like. So yeah, all in all, I think both books are actually pretty worthwhile. I think they're both pretty good. I don't think you're gonna go wrong going to either of these. You're gonna get roughly the same information. This is just a little easier to transition into, but goes less far. This one's harder to transition to, but goes farther. This one I'd say is a bit more extensive than this one is, but all in all, it's flip a coin, really. It's the same price. They don't really bother me either way. I don't see anything that really stands out on this one as like, wow, this is the one that everyone should get over every other intermediate textbook. I would definitely say these two stand out as probably the best for a native English-speaking audience. Anyways, I think that sums it up for the Tobita book series. I had a lot of fun with this book, and let's ship this back to Studio Chad. Hey, welcome back from the coffee nook. I'm surprised you came so quick. If you guys like this video, be sure to like it down below. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, or compliments, be sure to leave them in the comment box down below. I do personally read all of them. Now, you might be saying, Chad, why are you going so fast? You got somewhere to be? Yeah. It's a busy week. I'm going to the other side of the world in less than a week, so I got a lot of stuff to get done. That being said, the grammar book, I didn't have time to do a drawing before I made this video. I won't have time to do a drawing after this video because I leave before I would be able to pick this and get in contact and send it out. So I will come back and ship this guy out and do the giveaway for this when I'm home, early November. So if you would like to win your own version of the Tobita book, you can get it for free. I'll ship it to you, no charge to you. All you have to do is say something nice about Jan Michael Vincent. Rest in power, Jan. He died, I think, in the early 2000s. Either way, thank you guys for hanging out. This is a cool way to capstone this. I will finish the actual website, the Tobita website review, either when I'm in Japan or right when I'm back, and that's when I'll also do the giveaway for these. If you guys would like to come say goodbye, I have one last stream before I go over there, and the stream goes silent for about a month. That'll be this Saturday, I believe the 30th, but I'll put a reminder on my YouTube channel. You could just go and click on that, set a notification, hit that notification bell, and we'll be watching an anime together. I don't know what it is, but it'll be something fun. And then yeah, all my videos that whole month will then be in Japan, so fun stuff. I'll see you guys over there. Love hard, love deep, and I will see you all next week. Bye-bye.